Hi, I'm Arthur and welcome back to the Wisely Automotive YouTube channel. In this video you join me on the way to Ascot, just outside of London, to purchase a BMW i3. It's a bit of a last minute deal, with the seller only contacting us about an hour ago, so please excuse the low quality camera work, but it's quite an unusual example and one I thought would be interesting to document the collection of. It's a 94 amp hour, which is the middle of the three batteries BMW have offered, and in our opinion the sweet spot in the range in terms of bang for buck. The spec is high, but the really interesting thing is the mileage, which isn't far off 90,000 miles. So let's take a closer look. Okay, so just finished up all the paperwork on this 94 amp hour purchase and super pleased with it so far. Obviously we won't know everything about it until it's up in the air and we can look at the mechanicals, but the gentleman, lovely guy who's just sold it to us, just drove me from the station and everything seems in order. No real surprises just yet. We need 4 new tyres, but that's not really a problem and will add a bit of value. But yeah, I'm super chuffed. We've got 77%, so enough to get me back to London easily. 85,934. That's a 66 plate 94 amp hour. So just shows you can do high mileage in a BEV. Full service history. Lovely. See you at the other end. You join me at Heston Services, where I've just stopped for a rapid charge. Now I got here with, I'll overlay a photo, but I think about 65% state of charge. So I didn't really need to stop to get back. I've got plenty of range. But what we do try and do with every car is do at least 50 miles of sort of snag mileage, I suppose, just to check everything's working. Try and do a rapid charge session just to make sure that everything's you know, happy and there's no problems there. So that's one of the reasons I've stopped. There's 3 chargers now here. These are the newer GridServe style double-headed chargers. Now in the past Heston was pretty much a write-off in terms of charging. There were 2 units and both of them were usually broken, but yeah, we've got an e-Niro here charging away, although his parking has not pleased this Leaf driver who needs to reach that other CHAdeMO cable, but he can't. I've just had a conversation with him. It won't reach to this space and the guy's parked right in front of it. So yeah, not ideal, but these things I guess will improve as people understand better what they're meant to do. I'm on this double-headed CCS charger, which is charging away very nicely, and then there's a MG parked here which isn't plugged in whatsoever, so that's nice. But anyway, back to what we're doing. So yes, snagging mileage and sort of just testing the cars. Yeah, it's something that we feel is really important. The cars come to us in a variety of ways. We have a driver who picks them up. We go and collect them ourselves. Some of them are delivered by your car transporter or trailers. Now, even those cars, it's quite easy to just sort of prepare them, basically do a couple miles around London and call it a day. But even those, we will, wherever possible, try to use them for basically, like I say, at least 50 miles, just to make sure everything's running okay. See if there's any things that, I don't know, little rattles or things that we know and can easily add value by sorting. Back to this car, I left on, I think it was 77% state of charge. Again, I'll overlay a photo, and I think at the time it was showing 92 miles of range. Now that is a guessometer figure, which is this figure here, or guessometer, depending how you want to call it. And I think when I got here, I had 100 miles, so I'd created 8 miles by driving 22 miles. Now, what's the relevance of that? Well, the relevance is that it shows how irrelevant this number is, and that leads on to a really important point, and one we're often asked, which is, oh, in the sale photos, you know, of this 94 amp hour, it's showing 90 miles at 100%, the battery must have a problem. It's not the case at all. This gasometer figure is based on how the car's been driven recently. If it's been sat around a car park, if it's been at an auction, if it's been out for test drives, it's going to get a pretty skewed idea of what the car can do. So yeah, much more relevant and important is to see how the percentage, which is there, varies depending or as you drive and as you add mileage. So I can't for the life of me do maths in my head, but I did 22 miles and I think I used up about 10 or 11% doing that. So work that out for range, and it's a lot better than the sort of 160-ish miles that the car's saying. So really, really strong battery, given this is a 86,000 mile car, and understandably we're often, you know, people often come to us and that's their primary concern, you know, is the battery gonna fall apart, is the range gonna dwindle? Well, do you know what, this car is a really good example of why that really should be the last question you're asking rather than the first, because we're near on 86,000 miles in 4.5-5 years, and look at that range, you know, 162 miles predicted, probably even more given the kind of driving, the sort of 60-mile-an-hour crawling I've been doing. But yeah, I thought I'd clarify that and give you some more insight. Now back to this car, let me jump out and tell you a bit about it. I don't have a microphone, so this might not work, but we will try our best. So here we are, still charging away. Probably need to leave in about 5-ish minutes because we're approaching 95%. But yeah, these grid serve chargers are working great. The MG still has not plugged in or moved. Do we name and shame? Yeah, why not? There you go. Maybe someone in the MG community can just kindly explain that that's not what you do. Anyway, back to our 94 amp hour. So really good spec. This one is going to be desirable. We've got the sport pack, we've got turbine wheels, we've got privacy glass, we've got the sweet full leather interior with the dark oak matte trim, which again is great. And being a high mileage car, it's so good that it was spec'd with leather, because this stuff does wear well. It's got that kind of shine to it, which we'll aim to improve. But yeah, it's really hard wearing, much more so than the loft interior, which is probably the worst out of the four. We've got a cup holder, yay, because often those go missing. And the story behind it, so the gentleman who has just sold it to us, really nice guy, he's used it for a couple years to commute into London pretty much every day, and the savings that has this car's given him, you know, must be absolutely incredible. I guess we could work it out, but if you think about an annual train ticket into London from Ascot, is his local train station, or even the petrol and the congestion charge of driving an ice in, you know, this would have saved him thousands. So he's been super pleased with it, and he's taken really good care of it. Before him, he bought it from a BMW dealership, so yeah, two owners in total, and full BMW service history. I've noticed that the front end, obviously we'll give it a full clean and a full polish, but it's surprisingly low on stone chips. Now, I think when BMW sold it to owner 2, it was already quite high mileage, 60-odd thousand miles. So this has been painted for sure, because a 60,000 mile 3-year-old car would have been peppered, and most BMW dealerships would just throw it in the paint bay and go, get rid of that. Now, the evidence there is there's a slight colour mismatch there, but it's really not too bad. We've seen a lot worse, and we certainly won't be painting this again. But yeah, just a shame that main dealers use these kind of smart repair booths rather than doing it properly and blending paint properly into the next panels. But what else have we got? So the tyres are a bit of a disappointment. We are going to need to fit 4 which is not a problem, because by adding 4, yes, we spend you know, whatever it is, £400-500, but we're adding value. We can mention that to the next owners. Do you know what, these rears? Yeah, no, they're way gone. So that's definitely it. But on the other hand, I went to check the front pads, because I was expecting at 85,000 miles that we'll need to change those, and actually I was greeted with almost new pads, and the gentleman said he's recently changed them, so happy days. We got a bit of wheel scuffs there, which we will get diamond cuts, and yeah, overall really happy. You wouldn't think it has done 85,000 miles. Our old friend, the eDrive badge, is unfortunately worse for wear, so that will get the peel off treatment. What else have we got? Reversing camera's running well. This tailgate is just fantastic. I know on the camera it might look bad, but honestly, given the mileage, it's brilliant, and I guess testament to the fact that it has mostly been used for commuting. In terms of ancillaries, as we like to call them, we've got a first aid kit, we've got the cup holder, we've got a parcel shelf. Both of the cords are fine. Really a full house in that sense. So yeah, looking forward to getting this one back up on the ramp to see what's what. I haven't checked gaiters yet, but I'm assuming we're going to need to change those, and we are, but that's fine. But yeah, overall, what a lovely car. And you know, being a 94 amp hour, it's going to give someone the opportunity to have a really nice spec, but maybe on a bit of a budget, and doesn't concern us because it is essentially just one moving component. So in terms of risk, warranty, etc., it's not really an issue for us. I think I'm going to unplug now, and I guess I will probably see you back at Wisely HQ. So the major difference with the new GridServe chargers over the old Ecotricity ones, other than obviously being more reliable, is that anyone can come along and stop your charge session, and once they've done that, they can come along and unplug you. And I don't know if that's very sensible, but I'm sure they've got their reasons. Okay, so ready to go, and we are now at 153 miles on the gasometer and 94.5%. So we have gained 9 kilowatt hours in about 20 minutes. That's enough to do about 50-60 miles. Now that doesn't sound very impressive, but that's because we were getting very close to 100%. Rapid charging gets gradually slower as you reach 100%. So if I'd got here on 20% in those 20 minutes, I would probably have got a lot more, probably more like 80-90 miles of range in that time. But yeah, anyway. And by the way, for anyone interested, the MG is still blocking the CCS charger, and a Range Rover has just arrived as well. Interested to see how he's going to get on with that. Oh, maybe he's changed his mind. Anyway. Back to base after battling with London traffic, and super pleased with the car. Having had a chance to look around it under our LED lights here, it hasn't even been cleaned, and it pretty much looks retail ready. There's a few things we'll have to do in no particular order. One extra thing I've noticed is my phone wouldn't charge when plugged into the 12-volt socket, which is here. Really common. It's fuse 65 from memory. The fuse box is just there. It's a 20 amp yellow blade fuse probably blown on, I'd say 30% of cars that come into us. But yeah, so that just needs replacing. And the only other thing I've noticed is the quality of the refurbishment on the front wheels by someone in the past. Now, it's only once ever been resold, and that was by a BMW main dealer. So I'm not going to make assumptions, but it's possible that it was done by them. But yeah, this is just shocking. So from far away it looks okay, but once you get close, you've got don't even know what's going on here, but this bit basically has been painted with a brush, which is not how you refurbish a diamond cut wheel. We've got overspray or paint drip there, and here we've got bubbling in the lacquer. So yeah, really not cool. I mean, look at that edge there, that's bad, really bad. Bit of masking tape left over as well. That's just horrendous. But yeah, that'll all get sorted. All four wheels are going to be taken off anyway for new tyres, so we'll take the opportunity to make those look as good as new. So to end this video, I thought I'd do a quick guide showing you the bits and bobs which you should look out for when you're buying an i3. Now, that's not to say that every car will have every single item, and even in our case, I would say some cars won't have everything. We will, where possible, try and replace it, but ultimately it does come down to each particular car's margin, profit margin, and what it's come in with, what's available on the second-hand market as well. The main thing, or the most expensive thing, I would say, is a spare key. The spare keys cost £309 from BMW. So yeah, if a car only comes in with one, often it's the case that we'll just price it sort of competitively, or factor in the fact the key's missing in the asking price, and then whoever buys it can decide for themselves whether they want to order one, in which case we can facilitate that, or just to live with the one key. But yeah, do keep that price in mind when you're shopping around, because if you're paying full up and the car's only got one key, then that is not ideal. Number two is not necessarily a public charging cable, as those only became standard issue in early 2020, but a granny cable. Number three, a locking wheel nut. Number four, a towing eye. Number five, Tyre Inflation Kit, which comprises a pump and, for added points, sealant, which is in date, which this one is. Number six is a warning triangle. Number seven is actually missing, but there should be a Velcro strap going over this styrofoam container. Number eight, an aerial. Number nine, a parcel shelf. And for added points, 2 supporting cords which aren't broken. Number 10, a first aid kit. Number 11, if you want to be really picky, is these little blanking plugs that sit in 2 of the 3 12-volt sockets. Number 12, 4 ISOFIX covers with doors which aren't broken. Number 13, the movable cup holder, which often moves out of the car but doesn't move back in. 14, a user handbook. And finally, 15 is floor mats. Although sometimes no floor mats is better than really, really badly worn floor mats. So yeah, hopefully that has been useful, and if you're shopping around for an i3 or picking one up, you can know what to look out for. All that's left is to now fully charge the car. And this is the granny charger which came with it. This is the second generation of granny chargers. There's 3 in total. This one's manufactured by COP, and it's fairly reliable. Some overheating issues, but generally all right. So yeah, let's plug it in. And unlike the charge you saw me do earlier, where I removed both of these bungs here for Type 2 charging, which is basically everything other than rapid charging. You only have to take the top bung out. They now are. And now it's gone blue. That means it started charging. We often get phone calls shortly after delivery saying, oh, it keeps stopping charging after 2 or 3 minutes. That's just the blue light turning off to sort of not annoy wildlife, etc. It doesn't actually mean it stopped charging, just FYI. And let's have a look at the range. I don't mean to brag, but that is pretty good going. Thank you very much for watching, and hope that's been useful. I kind of decided to do it last minute, so if the sound quality is bad, I'm sorry. But yeah, please do consider subscribing if you are interested in this kind of content, and we will try and do some more. So yeah, thank you very much.
Item 497, a left-hand side door handle.